2, 1. What's good, everyone? We have a new show coming out. It's my dog, Q Man Q.
What's going on?
I texted Q the other day. He's got a lot of basketball knowledge, a lot of knowledge on a lot of things. I was like, dude, you should get in on a podcast. He was all for it. So now we're going to be bringing you an episode a week, talking about all things basketball, all things going on with basketball. So glad to have you, Q.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right, so we're going to start off with the other night, Lebron and Courtside Karen. So I don't know if you know this, but her husband has like a long-lasting beef with LeBron. I don't know why, but he just hates him. I don't even think LeBron knows who he is, but he
Yeah, I
hates
saw
him.
that. Isn't he
Yes.
like a lifelong Hawks fan or something like that?
Yeah, something like I don't know. He's old as fuck. He's got like a 25-year-old girlfriend or wife, whatever she is. But so I don't know. To explain it, I guess what happened was they were kind of yelling at LeBron. LeBron told him to shut the fuck up, you old steroid ass. And then they're kind of bickering back and forth. Then they got kicked out. She went on Instagram Live, just started fucking screaming, telling how LeBron's a bitch, all this shit.
Right.
And then 2 days later, she like deletes everything. The boyfriend goes on private. Done. So what was your thoughts on all this? I thought it was just funny though. Like,
I thought it was pretty funny too. Now, fans heckling other players have been going back for years. So
you're right.
I think the biggest thing was that like there's so much going on with COVID and stuff now. So that in itself is just bad. Like the interaction, LeBron got
Yeah.
pretty close to her, so it just is a bad look. But I just think that fans just need to just go to the games and just enjoy themselves. Like,
Yeah, I mean, he must have said something though to get LeBron's attention. Like, you can yell at LeBron, but like I would assume right now, with the limited fans, everything, like you can just kind of keep your cool right
yeah, you
now.
just gotta take it easy a little
Yeah,
bit.
when we go back to 18,000 fans, you could probably scream whatever the hell you want. And honestly,
Exactly.
LeBron after the game, he was like, I actually like kind of missed that. Like, I didn't want him to get kicked out, but like then again, it's like LeBron. If you make a big deal about it, you're gonna get anyone in the arena kicked out. You're LeBron, so
Like superstar caliber players thrive off that type of stuff.
yeah, that's
You know
what
what
I'm
I mean?
saying. Yeah, so like I do think he was like kind of like being a little like he was going back and forth, and then he was kind of just like, you know what, I don't care that much, and then they kicked him out. She went crazy. I think it's funny though that like she obviously knew she was in the wrong if you delete everything, like
Yeah, and she made her profile private.
yeah, like she was getting
They started.
hella comments though, like they were going at her.
Yeah, they're still talking about it to this day.
Yep. So that was crazy. I don't know. It kind of was just like you said with COVID though, it was kind of nice just to see like fans though, like for once. I'm sure the players have said like going to the arenas that allow fans, they like get more excited because they walk out and see people cheering, and that like gives them a
Exactly.
little more of an excitement. So hopefully we'll see more fans here shortly. All right, moving on. I don't know if you saw this, but Jared Dudley wrote a book. Yes.
Yeah, I saw that. It's like a small book. It's a small book, but
Jared Dudley. And in the book, he said that Paul George claiming, I don't know the exact quotes to it, but it was like Paul George claiming to be better when he hasn't won it. Paul George claiming to be better than LeBron and AD when he hasn't won anything. They took that as disrespectful. And then Paul George was just kind of like, who the fuck is Jared Dudley though to tell me that? Like I could see if LeBron said that, but Jared fucking Dudley. And
yeah, I
then
wanted to talk to you about that, man.
yeah, and then Paul George went out and scored like 45, and he was like, "Thank you, Jared, for giving me inspiration." First off, like I don't know, like I think Jared Dudley has an insight on the game. I think he's very smart, so the book is probably pretty good, and I think it's more about the bubble, which would probably give a good insight on like what went on and all that. But like honestly, like I think if you're Paul George and you're really worried about this, like that's more on you than Jared Dudley.
Exactly.
Like you're just promoting his book now.
I know, but Jared Dudley went out of his way to put Paul George in it. And I guess, like you said, he was going back to the bubble and referencing that Paul George was kind of putting his name up there with AD and LeBron.
Playoff P.
Yeah, but my thing is, I had this conversation with a friend the other day. Jared Dudley had limited minutes, if not any minutes, in the championships, in the finals, in the playoff run, things like that.
He didn't play a meaningful minute.
Exactly. So does that give Jared Dudley championship pedigree? Like, does that make you want to go out and go get a Jared Dudley?
No. But I think he has teammate pedigree. Like, I think he is the ultimate teammate.
Ultimate locker room guy.
Yes, but with the world in society we live in now, being on the team, anybody can write a book. You know what I'm like?
That's what I'm saying.
Everyone takes it upon themselves. Like, I agree with you. Like, bro, why is anyone discussing Jared Dudley's book? Like, all you can say is like, okay, maybe this is as close as we'll get to hear what LeBron and AD talked about in the locker room, because they're not going to tell anyone. But that's all we're going to get. He didn't play any minute where you're like, oh, Jared Dudley made a good play there, or Jared Dudley, like, so it's like
he made an impact to like actually get that ring.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, yes, he did go out of his way to call out Paul George, but if you're Paul George, you're like, bro, I'm worth $400 million, $240 million contract. Like, I'm an all-star. Like,
exactly,
bro, like, you know, each his own. I'm gonna move on. Like,
but if I'm Jared Dudley, you kind of want that competitive spirit from somebody else. You know what I mean? You kind of want that edge, like that somebody else has, that like they want to come compete. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. But he's also, I mean, you know, once he read those quotes, he was like, "Thank you, Paul George. You just helped me sell another 200,000 copies because you just
exactly."
Book." So like, Jared Dudley knows what he's doing, and like, honestly, I doubt that's how the book goes. If the Clippers if they honestly even play the Lakers, and it's like really tough in playoff P, played really well in that series. Like, I think the only reason why it was in this book and why it was like that, because it was like, you know, they come out, he calls himself playoff P after like game 1 against the Mavs because he had a good game. Then he looked like shit basically the rest of the playoffs, other than a few games.
Right.
Like, if he comes out, if they play the Lakers, go to 7 games, and Paul George averaged 34 and 12, like, I don't think we're seeing that quote in the book.
I don't think so either, bro.
So like, that's what I'm just saying. But like, yeah, I mean, it is another thing though. Like, damn, like anyone can really write a book, you know, like, and you know, more power to you if people.
I think Jared Dudley might be trying to stay a little relevant too.
100%. I mean, he's not like, he's literally on the Lakers team as like a morale guy, like a guy who, you know, there's always random games in the NBA where teams play like absolute shit. No one wants to be out there.
He'll get in time.
Yeah, or he'll play and like, you know, they need some guy to come and give him a little spark. Like, he'll hustle, he'll do all that shit. So like,
do the dirty work, set some screens.
He'll always stay ready. So like, I mean, he's got that veterans minimum. He's been in the league for like 15 years. So like, he's got all that. So
the reason why I said that is there was a quote in his book, and I don't know it word for word either, but he was saying like, I've solidified my spot as a future GM, as a future head coach. You know what I mean? So it's like, Jared, I understand where you're coming from, buddy, but what are you really trying to do here, man?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. It's like, that's to the point of like, bro, anyone can write up. Like, if you say enough in a book and you're actually a part of like one of the good teams, it's going to get talked about, just because it's like, you know, everyone's reading it and not thinking it was like mostly Jared Dudley's words. It was mostly what LeBron was saying in the huddles.
Right.
So like, also like, I'm sure he had to get approval from LeBron. Like, come on, like LeBron runs everything out there in LA. We all know
he definitely had to get, and LeBron probably had to proofread it and, you know, make sure he didn't leak too much.
Exactly. And but I mean, like I said, more power to you, man. You can make that money. Like, but Ty Lue, I guess, was pretty upset. Like, but my point is like, I wouldn't get upset. Like if you are the Clippers, you have, after what happened last year, you have to just accept the heat, though.
Yeah. And then, especially with everything coming into the season, like they were so hyped up. You have 2 perennial all-stars.
Yes.
And you get swept. I mean, you give up a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets, right?
Yeah, 3-1 lead. Yep. And in game 5, they were up like 19 going into the 4th quarter.
Yeah. So like, and then Kawhi and Paul George essentially
played like ass.
They played terrible. So.
Yeah. So like, you have to take everything, and then, you know what, go win it this year, and then you can come out next year and talk all that shit. You know, like,
and you can write your own book.
You can, exactly. And you could Paul George can write a book and say, thank you, Jared Dudley. Like, you know, like, but like this year, I just think you have to take it on the chin, because you deserve all of that. Like,
facts.
So it's just like when LeBron and the Heat lost to the Mavs.
Oh,
Like,
yep.
I mean, they didn't say a word the next year. I mean, they might have said a little bit, but like, you just got to take it on the chin because you deserve everything that's coming after you. So,
Exactly.
you know, but good for Jared Dudley, I guess. It would be interesting to be in an NBA locker room and seeing guys like that, how they interact. Like, are they really locker room guys? Like, are they really like?
I think Jared Dudley is. I think he keeps the camaraderie together and
I
he holds
agree.
people accountable and stuff like
Hmm.
that.
I think LeBron, for him to come back, I think LeBron has a pretty good respect for him.
Oh
So
yeah,
that's good for him. And then let's get into a little bit. A lot of star players moved. The
man.
Suns got Chris Paul. The Nets got obviously KD, and Kyrie didn't play that much last year, so you don't really. I mean, it wasn't really much. Wizards got Russell Westbrook. The Nets also got James Harden. The Rockets got John Wall.
Yeah.
Um, and then we're going to throw in after that. I want to throw in like the Miami Heat, who have been playing horrible. They didn't make
Yeah, that's surprising.
so like all the teams I mentioned added a star player. The Heat were the team that everyone talked about adding a star player, and they kept their team, said, this wasn't a fluke last year, and we're not
That
going to
was
trade
struggling.
Tyler Hero. They're like almost in last place in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
But what do you out of those teams? Honestly, I think we both would probably agree the Nets are like probably the best looking team out of the team to add a superstar. Other
Yep.
than that, what team do you think that's like meshing the best after adding a superstar?
Now, there's one team that added a piece that I don't consider a superstar, but the Sixers added Danny Green. And he
Yeah,
gives them a lot of shooting and some more depth at the guard position after losing Josh Richardson and after losing Al Horford. So
I actually think the Sixers, and I think this is a testament to Daryl Morey. I think he's a very smart GM, and he knows exactly what he's doing.
new
But
coaching staff.
new
Yep.
coaching staff, but Doc is obviously a good coach. Like he's got, he knows what he's doing. But Joel being healthy obviously is always their number one thing. And then like I honestly think Doc just being like, yo, Ben, like do your stuff, but like you're not going to be our focal point ever.
Yep.
And I think that was actually like a really good thing. And I think Ben Simmons is actually playing well though. Like he's more efficient. So, but I agree with you. Danny Green, they were talking about it when they were playing the Lakers on ESPN. He could be the first player to ever do a three-peat, and he'd be on 3 different teams. Like that's
I
crazy.
the Sixers have a legit chance, man. And
They
like you
do.
said, they're playing through Joel. He's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And now Ben Simmons is starting to accept his role as
Yes.
not necessarily the second fiddle, but he's that guy that can initiate the offense.
Yep.
He can guard the best player. He knows his role now. And
For
so
sure.
you never really see Ben in any drama or anything like that. So
No, he's kind of
I
stayed
think
out of the
this
headlines
is,
this year, so which is
yeah.
good. But Seth Curry, I think helps too because you got Danny
Seth Curry,
Green,
they added him.
Seth Curry. You got two shooters, which like Josh Richardson was not a shooter. I mean, he can hit the shot, but he's not a shooter. Like so, you had like what they added was like obviously Tobias can be streaky, but he can shoot. So you
Yep.
have three shooters around Joel and Ben, which is what they've been needing, and it took Daryl Morey to come in to do that. But I agree with you. I think that was a huge thing. We'll see what they can do in the playoffs because every year we always talk about how they're going to beat Boston and they never can.
Yep. They
But
always fall short.
I would agree. I do think Brett Brown was holding them back. Like I do not think he was that good of a
I
coach.
think so too. I don't think the players really connected with him that well.
No, not at all. But then
Doc is more of a player's coach, so
100%. I think the Suns, I think Chris Paul and the Suns relationship is very good. I think Devin Booker enjoys having almost a guy who can take over a game and he doesn't have to do everything and he can just like focus on other things. DeAndre Ayton, I think it's helping him a lot, being able to throw lobs. Jay Crowder, I think, was a good addition for them too. I think the
yeah.
Suns, they're young, so they're kind of streaky too. They went on a little losing skid, but I think they're good.
That's a team that can definitely creep up on people.
Mm-hmm. And Chris
And
Paul
they're
knows how
definitely
to
going
win.
to get in. They're going to get in the playoff hunt.
Agreed. I agree with that. And then moving on to the Wizards. Wizards are horrible. I
Oh
don't
my
necessarily
gosh.
think it's all Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal don't mesh together. I don't think they mesh that well together, but I think they can. I just think the rest of the roster is so bad.
I think so too. They have no depth, dude. They
Yeah,
have no, I mean, they have Thomas Bryant.
but he's hurt.
Yeah, Rui Hachimura. I, I just don't see the Wizards getting out of the East. I mean, with the team that they have, the team makeup, they don't have the pieces, bro.
No, and they're falling pretty quickly in the standings, so like they're gonna have to make up a lot of ground. No chance they get that. It is kind of insane. Like Russell Westbrook is Russell Westbrook, but like everywhere he's gone, he hasn't been able to win in the playoffs.
Nope.
He's making $42 million this year. Like, it's absurd.
That's insane, bro.
Absurd. But and then the Heat, I mean, it's kind of looking like now the Heat have had some COVID issues, but like they just don't look like they are playing well at all.
Now, do you think their playoff run from last year is taking a toll on their season now in terms of like just fatigue? I
I
mean, the
think
Lakers are playing well, but you could say that the Heat, Jimmy Butler was tired, man.
I will say this: the difference I think between the Lakers and the Heat are the Lakers. I mean, they added Schroeder, Gasol,
Harold,
Harrell, and they might have added some. I might be missing someone else, but I mean,
Taylor
those
Horton Tucker's playing well for them
playing,
too.
yeah. But so those are basically, I mean, because he didn't really play. He might have played like 2 games in the playoffs. He
Right.
came in a little bit, but those are 4 players who really didn't play in the deep stretch. Schroeder was knocked out in the first round. Montrezl Harrell was knocked out in the second round. Gasol didn't even, or he was knocked out in the first round too. So
Yeah.
like, or the second round, but
They have fresh bodies.
that's what I'm saying. So they're fatigued and they want to win. So like they already lost, so they want to come back and win with fresher
Yes.
bodies. Because I mean, 2 more rounds in the playoffs is like another month and a half, 2 months.
2 months in the bubble.
Exactly. So I think fatigue is a thing, but I also think another difference in that is that the Heat are very young. The Lakers are very mature. So
Hmm.
like I do think it's taking a toll on like Tyler Hero and all them. Yes, they have young bodies and stuff, but like now they have an X on their back and they're coming in there and people want to beat them.
Yep.
And they used to be the team that would out hustle everyone, and now they're kind of just getting their ass kicked. So
That's what I'm saying, man. It's crazy to see.
it is.
They, like you said, they have a lot of young guys: Kendrick Nunn, Duncan,
Mhm,
Hero. I
mhm.
just don't, like I said, I just don't think they can sustain. They
No,
just can't sustain.
I think what happened last year, I do think they deserve to go. I wasn't saying that. I'm not saying the bubble is why they went. I do think maybe they lose to Boston if it's a normal year, not in bubbles. They go home and home and all that. I think they probably lose to Boston.
I agree.
Giannis got hurt, so I still think they beat the Bucks.
Yeah.
And how badly they beat the Pacers, that wasn't even a series. I don't even think it's a series at all either outside. So,
Nope.
but like I think in normal basketball, I think it proves that like one, Jimmy Butler had a great run, but I don't think he can do that. And honestly, again, like I really don't.
I don't think so either. He
So
was playing out of his mind.
yes, and everyone was like kind of connecting. I mean, Tyler Hero's, I mean, he's still playing all right, but he was playing out of his mind too in the bubble. Like
Hmm.
Bam was averaging like a triple double damn near, and he's kind of gone a little down too. I do think losing Jay Crowder hurts them. He brought toughness to their team, but do you think they should have added a superstar? Like, do you think they should go get Bradley Beal?
I think they should go get a superstar. I don't necessarily think they should go get a Brad Beal, but they definitely need to get another piece, whether it's another point guard or maybe a big, but they have the depth in terms of like a guard position: Jimmy
Yeah.
Butler, Hero, Kendrick, Duncan Robinson. They need to add one more piece because now teams in the East, they're starting to make their teams build up in terms of
Mhm.
like just superstar caliber status. You need another
Yeah.
superstar.
Well,
You need one.
think about the best teams in the East. Like you got the Nets. I mean, they have Kyrie, James, and KD. They can score
I
160.
don't see that Heat team with that makeup beating them.
That's what I'm saying. And then you got that team, and then you got like even Philly. Like the way Danny Green and Seth Curry are shooting the ball, and Joel's playing MVP level. No one on the Heat's playing MVP level. And then you throw in Ben Simmons, who's like he's been an All Star, so he knows how to. He's played well. And
Yep.
then you got the Bucks. Obviously, they have Giannis, but Chris Middleton's playing well. I mean, they've been there for 3 years now. Like I agree with you. And then you throw. I mean, that we haven't even talked about the Celtics in the East. Like
Yep.
once they get healthy, like I don't see them being able to score. And the problem with this too is they continue to lose and get further back in the standings. Like they only have to make up more ground, and sooner or later it's just going to be too late. It's not a normal
It's going to
82 game
be way
schedule.
too late.
100%. So
I agree. And also the Bucks added a key piece to Drew Holiday, which I think he
I
can
think
be a big addition for them.
I think in the playoffs he could be a huge addition to them.
He can guard those primetime NBA players
For sure,
like a
100%.
Kyrie. Mhm.
Yes, it'll be interesting with the Bucks and like because the Bucks, it's they had, I think Drew Holiday is like they had Chris Middleton who's played well, and then Giannis, but they never really had a third person,
Nope.
And Drew Holiday, even if he's not playing offense, like shooting the ball well, he does so many things.
Dude, he is probably the best defensive guard in the NBA, arguably, besides, a few other people. But Drew Holiday, two-way, I think he's up there. Top five for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would agree with that. Yeah, 100%. So right now, who would be your pick coming out of the West, and who would be your pick coming out of the East?
I would say I can't count out the Lakers, man. I can't count out the Lakers. Obviously, I think they go back. I think they have the chance to repeat just with the fact that they added the key pieces in terms of a Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, Marcus Sol. Um, they're fresh. LeBron's hungry for another ring. I could see them going back.
I
Now the
think
East,
I
yeah.
think
What about you?
I think I honestly think if this Lakers team plays its best, it is better than last year's Lakers team at its best.
Oh, 100%.
I just think they're more lethal. And, the Nuggets are really good, and the Jazz are very good,
Mm-hmm.
and the Sixers are very good. All three of those teams, though, Marcus Gasol might be the best post defender. No one talks about it ever. I was reading this
Yeah,
article,
he's good. He's
and
good on the block. He's good on the block.
or actually he was in Jared Dudley's book, or he tweeted about it or something. He said
Mm-hmm.
he was like, "Why do you think we went out and got Mark? Like, we need someone to guard Jokic. We need someone to guard Joel. We need some." And he's like, he against Joel. Other than the last time they played, Joel played pretty well. But like when he was in Toronto, Joel plays like shit when he plays Marcus Hall. It's like wild. So I do think
Mm-hmm.
at their best they're better, because I think Schroeder gives him another thing that they can.
He's a spark, man. He can
Yeah,
go get you a bucket.
Montrezl
He's got an
Harrell
edge about him too.
for sure, for sure. But I would agree with you. I think until someone beats them, I'd have to go with them. I don't think the Jazz. The Jazz are good. I just don't think they're like.
I don't see them getting past the Lakers
I
either.
think the Clippers will go to the finals again, though, depending how the standings are this year, because it's a shortened year. Like, it's kind of weird standing wise and all that stuff. Like, the Jazz could get the 1 seed because
Now, there's 10 teams now, right? That get in, or is it still eight?
it's 10, I think, but they do like a literally like a March Madness one game
Oh,
play.
play-in game.
Yeah, so I think maybe the 9 plays the 10, and then the winner of that plays the 8, and then the winner of that plays the 1.
Okay.
Which
Okay.
I think that's exciting. So
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds, but I don't see anybody getting past the Lakers at this point.
I agree with that. What about the East?
Now with the East, you can't really set aside the Nets, man. Just adding those pieces, dude. Like you got the Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kevin Durant. They're arguably the top three isolation players in the NBA.
And I don't like Kyrie does his thing off the court. Sometimes he leaves the team, whatever. When that
Mm-hmm.
man is shooting the rock well, he is an insane one-on-one basketball player. It is absurd to watch. When he is
Probably the best. Probably the best.
and like when they were playing the Clippers the other night, and he basically took over the last 4 possessions of the game.
That
Like
was
the
insane.
Nets GM probably sat back and was like, "All right, yeah, that's why we don't make a big deal when Kyrie goes away for 2 weeks." Like
Yep.
normal, no. Do they wish they had him all the time? Probably. Everyone probably would, but
Right.
like they're probably just like Kyrie, just give us a little heads up next time. But like but like when he's playing one on one like that, and like he did in a lot of the finals when they went, like he is up there for like one of the hardest one on one guys to ever defend. So, and then then you throw James Harden and KD in.
And they're also isolation players that can go and get you a bucket at any given moment.
I think that it's very quick, but like I think they've gelled pretty well too. And I think James Harden is like kind of buying in a little bit to playing defense. Now people are like, yeah, but they give up 135 but it's like you got to remember they shoot the ball super quick in shot clocks, and they have a lot of runouts.
There's a
So
lot of possessions.
their
Mm-hmm.
points per possession isn't as bad as people probably think. I mean, it's not great, but it's not like horrible, but it's also like when you can score 150, you don't need to be the best team in the league. So, or the best defensive team in the
Exactly.
league. So
They're
you
just
think
trying to outscore people. I think they're trying to gel. They're trying to find their identity still. I think they are missing though a post presence that can be durable for a championship run. I don't see DeAndre Jordan or Nick Claxton or Norvell Pell going the distance and taking on an Anthony Davis or an Embiid or somebody like that.
They someone talked about it's like, you know, they had to trade Jared Allen or they don't get James Harden. So obviously everyone would make that move. But like Jared Allen would fit so perfect in this because of the way he blocks shots and everything. Like,
yeah.
But I agree with you. DeAndre Jordan kind of sucks. Like
he's old now.
Yeah,
he's got a lot on his wheels.
A lot of the things that he does is just because he's playing with such good players, which he's able to do. Like he's smart, he knows how to play. Like, you know, like you said, he's old, but like, yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to see if like somehow the team was willing to take DeAndre Jordan instead of Jared Allen. Like Jared Allen would be perfect for them right now.
Exactly.
I agree with you. I agree with you though. I think they do. Like it would be interesting to see them, or even like a Boston, because like they don't play defense. So like it'd be interesting to see them play like a very well coached team in the playoffs, like Boston, Sixers, even the Bucks. Like the way all those teams play, like it'd be interesting if the Raptors were really good with how well coached they are by Nick Nurse. That would be an interesting matchup how he'd go about defending those guys. But I just don't. The Raptors aren't that good. But I think in the East too, I'd probably go the Nets. Like I just don't. I mean, until someone probably beats them. I mean, because the East isn't like the West, where like the Lakers clearly were the best team. They're playing very good basketball. Not like
the East is so much like it's so much open in the air. Like it's anybody's game. And the Heat aren't relevant anymore right now.
Exactly.
So,
and they're gonna. I mean, it'll be. I think the East is very top heavy, but like, I mean, we're talking like the Cavs and the Knicks are like
they're fighting for a playoff spot. Like they're gonna get in.
Yeah, the 6, 7, and 8 seed. Like, so like they might have some breezes in the. So like right now, like the Pacers, I don't think they're very good either. Like they're okay, but like I think Karis LeVert like would help him a lot, but he can't play.
Right.
But so it goes Philly at the 1, Milwaukee at 2, Brooklyn at 3, Boston at 4, Indy at 5, Atlanta at 6, Cleveland at 7, Charlotte at 8. So
wow.
That's what I'm saying. Like Cleveland, Charlotte. I mean, even Atlanta, yeah, they probably might give you a game 1 game, but like they're not that.
I think we're talking like until we get to like the semifinals, then that's when it'll start to pick up in the East. But
the top 4 teams, yeah, Philly, Milwaukee, Brooklyn, and Boston, right, for sure.
So I think any one of those teams can potentially get in, but I would say the Nets and then I would say the Sixers have the next best chance, in my opinion.
You think if so Giannis obviously signed his extension. You think if they lose again in like the second round, like it's kind of like, all right, we need to kind of slow down the Giannis hype train? Like obviously he's a very good player, but he can't win in the playoffs.
Yeah, so I believe Giannis needs to go to the finals this year. And in order to solidify his legacy. Like he can't keep getting bounced in the semifinals every year or the conference finals every year. He needs to go to the finals. He needs to prove that he can get it done in order to be considered amongst the KDs, the LeBrons, you know, amongst the best. That's just my opinion.
I mean, it is interesting if like, because like we were just saying, I mean, the second round, like he'll play the Nets or the Celtics, who he has
completely shut down.
Yeah, so like it would be interesting if they got bounced in the second round again. Like everyone acts like he's so young. I mean, he's gonna be 27 next year, so if he gets bounced again, that's not that young.
It's not.
Like
he's getting up there.
Like LeBron and KD and all them, they were in a finals like at age 24. So I mean, KD's only 6 years older than him. He has 2 titles, been to the finals 3 times.
And the East is only getting better. So
I mean, that's what I'm saying though. Is like, so you don't go this year. Like the Celtics, their best 2 players are Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. They're 24 years old. Then you throw in the Nets. They have fucking KD, Kyrie, and James Harden. For like another 2 years.
And then the Sixers are young.
Yeah,
they got Embiid and Simmons, Curry. I mean, Danny Green is a little older, but they still, if they keep their core as well, I mean,
they're
looking good for them.
Their core 3 of Tobias, Ben, and
Right.
Joel are all locked up for like 5 more years, so
Right.
they're not going anywhere. So, and then
Giannis has to get there now.
I would agree because I think it would. I think if he can get there now, they could go out and get another star. I think if they don't go, people are like, why the fuck am I going to Milwaukee?
Okay, so here's my question. What position, okay, say hypothetically the Bucks don't go to the finals. What position would you go out and get? Because they have a point guard, they have a good second fiddle in Chris Middleton. Would you try to go and get a big like a Harrell or someone, or just add more depth?
I would probably scratch the Brook Lopez experiment.
Yeah,
Get rid of that.
that's toast.
Um, I would maybe go after like a honestly like I think Bradley Beal with the way the Bucks play, shooting a bunch of threes. I think you could then just be like, all right, we're gonna play Giannis at the 5,
Yeah.
and then have
Yeah.
Chris Middleton, Brad Beal, Holiday, plug in whoever you want. I think if that's the case, then I don't think they could afford Julius Randle, but like a Julius Randle then playing that small forward to like a center position.
Yeah.
So maybe Bobby Portis takes that role, but like I would completely scrap the Brook Lopez it's Brook, and I would try to get like Bradley Beal. I think Bradley Beal, the way he shoots, he can defend, he can create his own shot. He's a
Mhm.
better Chris Middleton. Like, let's be real, but you still keep Chris Middleton. Like, I think that would be your
Mhm.
best chance is like being like, all right, we're gonna surround Giannis because, like, yes, Brook Lopez is a good shooter, but I don't think people are really that threatened, honestly.
No.
So, like, you
And he
put
gets torched in the pick and roll as well.
exactly, he's terrible
Mhm.
on defense. So you throw like a Brad Beal who's a spot up, like,
You play Giannis at the 5, he can guard all 5 positions.
mhm.
You plug in Brad Beal into that system. I think, and you essentially need 2 to 3 superstars to get to where you want to go now. Now that they added
Yeah.
Kyrie, Harden, and KD over there, and
Well, you
so
either need two dominant superstars, which that's what the Lakers had last year, in a great supporting cast who know their roles, or you
yep,
need three superstars. Like, I don't think you can necessarily, honestly, even win with two superstars anymore. Like, it has to be
that's
like AD is a top 10 player, so like that's a little different.
mhm.
So like Kyrie and KD maybe could have done it because they're both top 10 players, but like I don't think their supporting cast was as good. Slash like the Lakers had pretty good shooters, LeBron, AD, but everyone on that team could defend very well.
Yep.
And they were the best defensive team in the league. And then you
Even
throw
Caruso,
yes,
Kuzma started playing good defense. Rondo,
right.
KCP. So
Yes. So they had they had a great makeup. So like I think that's why I think the Bucks should just go old and get like a Bradley Beal and then maybe get like a center like maybe like a Dwight Howard if they really need a true center for some situation.
a JaVale McGee, a Dwight Howard,
Yeah.
somebody like that who's like going to take the veterans minimum, be
Yes.
low on cap space
Yes.
because they locked Giannis up for a big deal, and they traded their future first round picks for Drew Holiday. So it's not like
Yes.
they can go and get like a future Obi Toppin or
Right.
a young college basketball player. They should go old. I agree.
So what's the Pelicans doing then? Like they still have all these they kind of have a decent amount of first round picks and they're very young. Like are they just kind of chilling? Like
I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing, and I don't see them coming out of the West either. Like the West is so stacked, and they have a young core. They took that Lakers core and Zoe, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and Josh Hart.
Mhm.
They added some veteran pieces on JJ Redick, but I don't see them clicking either. I think they might have to blow that up eventually.
They're gonna it's almost like you gotta decide either Zion or Brandon Ingram.
Yeah, essentially.
And then just build around the one that you pick.
You don't see them. You don't think they can mesh well together?
I think they could. I just think the way their team is being shaped right now, like I just don't think it's a winning basketball team. I also think the Van Gundy hire was a horrible hire. Like I don't know, he hasn't been in basketball for a little bit. People said that he
I
doesn't.
just don't think he connects to the team well, man.
A lot of people said that before he got the job, and then I think it's proven. And like I think maybe if he had a veteran team, he could maybe connect. I still don't think it'd be a great hire, but like this team is young as shit.
Yeah, there's no way that Zion and Lonzo Ball and Ingram and all of them are connecting to Van Gundy.
Yeah,
Just the way
exactly.
I don't see it meshing well in New Orleans at all.
Yeah, so it'll be I don't know, it'll be interesting for that team. But you got anything else? Any last questions that you had?
No, man.
All right, that wraps up episode 1. We'll be back next week. You can always tweet us questions you want us to talk about. We will get into some college basketball too. So we'll see y'all next week. Subscribe to the YouTube.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.